There's a fear that many men never put into words, but it lingers in their minds every time they're around a younger woman. It's the fear of coming across as desperate, awkward, or worse, creepy. The truth is, asking for intimacy is one of the most vulnerable moves a man can make. And when the woman is younger, the stakes feel even higher. The last thing you want is to ruin the connection by saying the wrong thing, in the wrong way, at the wrong time. But here's the secret. Intimacy doesn't start with the question. It starts long before that moment. It starts in the way she feels when she's around you. If she feels safe, understood, and respected, then intimacy becomes a natural flow rather than a forced request. If she doesn't, no words in the world can make it work. Picture this. You're sitting across from her. Maybe it's after dinner, maybe it's late at night when the world feels quiet, and you notice the way her eyes linger a little longer than usual. Her smile is softer. Her voice slows down. The air feels charged but delicate. That's when the question rises in your mind. Should I make a move? Should I ask? How do I do this without ruining everything? The mistake most men make is treating intimacy like a transaction. They think in terms of asking permission or making a move, instead of creating an experience that naturally invites both of you into closeness. Women, especially younger women, can sense when a man is trying to take something versus when he is offering to share something. And that difference is everything. So the first step isn't asking, it's listening. Not with your ears, but with your presence. She will give signals, subtle ones at first. Maybe her body leans closer. Maybe she touches her hair more often or lets her hand brush against yours. Maybe she laughs a little too long at your jokes, her eyes holding yours for just a moment too long. These are her whispers. And a man who pays attention to those whispers never needs to force the question. He simply aligns with what's already happening. Now let's talk about the way you carry yourself. A younger woman can sense uncertainty instantly. If you hesitate too much, she feels it. If you rush too fast, she feels that too. What she truly responds to is calm confidence. The kind of energy that says, I don't need this moment to happen, but I'd like it to. And if you'd like it to, I'm open to it. That kind of energy is magnetic. When it finally comes time to move closer, the language you use matters. You don't ask as if you're begging for permission. You don't phrase it in a way that makes it sound like a demand. Instead, you keep it light, warm, and human. A simple, I've been wanting to kiss you, is infinitely better than a stiff, can I kiss you? One sounds like an invitation. The other sounds like a formality. Invitations are sexy. Permissions feel clinical. But here's the beautiful part. If she's already comfortable, if you've been patient, if you've paid attention, then your words won't even matter as much as your timing. She'll know what you're saying before you say it. And in that moment, it won't feel like you're asking. It will feel like you're simply acknowledging the connection that already exists between you. You see, the reason so many men struggle with this isn't because they don't know what to say. It's because they try to skip the buildup. They want the result without the groundwork. They forget that intimacy is not about speed, it's about resonance. When she feels seen, when she feels desired without being pressured, when she feels that you understand the unspoken as much as the spoken, that's when intimacy unfolds naturally. There's one more truth you need to understand. Women, especially younger women, don't want a man who is afraid of intimacy. They want a man who can embrace it without shame. That doesn't mean being aggressive. It doesn't mean being reckless. It means owning your desire while still holding space for her choice. It means being strong enough to show softness. And before we go any further, let me pause and say this. If you're finding this conversation powerful, if it's opening your eyes to things you've overlooked before, then make sure you subscribe to this channel right now. Because here, we uncover the truths about psychology, attraction, and relationships that no one else will say out loud. If you want to keep learning how to connect deeply and authentically, this is where it happens. So let's bring it back. Asking a younger woman for intimacy without sounding creepy isn't about a magical phrase. It's not about manipulation or lines. It's about presence, timing, and respect. It's about knowing when the energy between you has shifted, when the silence grows warm instead of cold, when her body language invites instead of retreats. It's about noticing the green lights she's giving and honoring them instead of ignoring or rushing through them. And if you get it wrong, if you misread her signals and she pulls back, that's okay too. What defines you in that moment isn't the mistake, it's your response. If you laugh it off, if you respect her boundary, if you don't sulk or push, you've just shown her something rare, a man who can handle rejection with grace. And that grace is paradoxically one of the most attractive things you can display, because when you handle intimacy with respect, you make her feel safe, and when she feels safe, she opens up even more. That's the secret most men never realize. Safety isn't boring. Safety is what unlocks desire. This is only the beginning. We've scratched the surface of how to ask without asking, how to invite instead of pressure, and how to let intimacy be a shared choice instead of a desperate request. But there's more, much more, because the real question is not just how to ask for intimacy once, but how to create an atmosphere where she continues to crave it, where she feels drawn to you again and again. There's something powerful about the way intimacy builds, not as a single moment, but as a series of smaller steps that lead towards something larger. Many men mistakenly believe that intimacy is about the grand gesture, the perfect line, or the dramatic moment. But in reality, it's the quiet consistency, the small details, the unspoken signals that shape how a younger woman perceives you. If you want to ask without sounding creepy, you have to first understand how attraction grows in layers. Think back to the last time you felt truly drawn to someone. It wasn't just about the way they looked, it was about how they made you feel. Maybe it was the way they looked at you, calm, steady, like they could see straight through the surface into something deeper. Maybe it was the way they carried themselves, never rushed, never needy, but always grounded. That feeling doesn't happen by accident. It's cultivated, moment by moment, through presence. A younger woman, whether she admits it out loud or not, is drawn to the man who makes her feel like she's not just another option in a crowded world. She's drawn to the man who pays attention to the subtleties she assumes most men overlook. The way she brushes a strand of hair from her face, the way her laughter carries when she's genuinely amused versus when she's being polite, the slight hesitation before she answers a question, when she's thinking carefully about how much to reveal. A man who notices those things and responds with patience instead of pressure stands out in ways words can't describe. That's why intimacy is not about jumping forward, but about building trust. Every time you respect her pace, every time you acknowledge her feelings without judgment, every time you let her feel seen without demanding more than she's ready to give, you're laying bricks in the foundation of safety. And as I said before, safety isn't the absence of attraction. It's the spark that allows attraction to deepen. Now let's talk about the fear of sounding creepy, because this fear can paralyze men. Creepy is not about age differences. Creepy is not even about attraction. Creepy is when a man ignores context. Creepy is when he pushes past her comfort zone without tuning in to her cues. Creepy is when he takes instead of offering, when he makes intimacy about his own need instead of the shared experience. So how do you avoid it? By making intimacy something you create together, rather than something you pursue alone. Instead of thinking, how do I get her to say yes? Think, how do I make her want this as much as I do? That shift in mindset changes everything. Because when you approach intimacy as a shared journey, she feels empowered, not pressured. And empowerment is what transforms hesitation into desire. There's also the matter of patience. Many men underestimate how much time it takes for a younger woman to fully trust them. She may be attracted right away, but intimacy is not just about attraction, it's about emotional readiness. If you rush, you risk breaking something fragile before it even has the chance to grow. But if you give her the space to choose, you become the rare man who doesn't just want her body, but wants her comfort, her willingness, her yes. That feels just as good for her as it does for you. So when it finally comes time to express what you want, keep this in mind. Honesty is attractive, but pressure is not. A simple, calm statement like, "I really want to be closer to you right now," can carry more power than any clever line. Why? Because it's authentic. It's not a performance. It's not rehearsed. It's real. And realness is irresistible. But what if she hesitates? What if she doesn't immediately respond the way you hoped? That's where most men ruin their chances, because they make her hesitation about their ego. They become defensive, disappointed, or pushy. What she needs in that moment is reassurance, a smile, a relaxed response, maybe even a playful, "No worries, I can wait," that lets her know you value her comfort over your impatience. That response tells her something she doesn't often hear, that you respect her boundary and still desire her anyway. That kind of respect builds more intimacy than forcing a yes ever could. And here's another secret. Sometimes intimacy is not about asking at all. It's about inviting. Instead of asking, "Can I?" you guide the energy with your actions. You move a little closer. You let your hand rest lightly near hers, close enough for her to close the distance if she chooses. You maintain eye contact just long enough to make your intentions clear, but not so long that it feels demanding. You give her the opening, and then you let her walk through it at her own pace. That's not creepy, that's connection. Imagine this. You're sitting together, the night has slowed, the conversation has softened, and there's a pause. That pause is where the invitation lives. If you lean in slightly, and she doesn't move away, that's her signal. If she tilts her head, lets her lips part ever so slightly, that's her signal. If her body language opens instead of closes, that's her signal. You're not guessing, you're responding. And when you respond instead of forcing, it never feels creepy. It feels inevitable. This is what most men miss. Intimacy is not about taking a leap. It's about aligning with her rhythm. When you do, it feels less like you asked and more like you both arrived at the same place at the same time. And that's what makes the moment unforgettable. But here's the deeper layer, the one very few talk about. Intimacy isn't just physical, it's psychological. A younger woman wants to feel desired, yes, but she also wants to feel valued. She wants to know you see her not just as a body, but as a person worth knowing. If you make her feel like she's more than just a conquest, she'll be far more open to closeness. When you blend desire with respect, attraction with patience, boldness with softness, that's when you create intimacy that doesn't just happen once, it lingers. So if you're worried about asking a younger woman for intimacy, remember this. It's not about the question. It's about the atmosphere you create, the signals you respect, and the way you hold space for her choice. Get that right, and intimacy won't feel like something you're asking for. It'll feel like something she's just as eager to share. There's a quiet truth most men overlook when it comes to intimacy with a younger woman. The moments between words often carry more weight than the words themselves. Silence, when held with confidence, can be one of the most powerful tools you have. Because in that silence, she feels the depth of your presence. She notices whether you're calm or anxious, patient or rushing, steady or uncertain. And the way you hold that silence tells her everything she needs to know about what kind of man you are. Think about it. When a man fills every pause with chatter, with nervous explanations, or with forced jokes, he sends a signal he doesn't even realize. The signal is, "I don't know how to just be here with you." But when a man can sit in quiet, when he can let the space breathe, when he can lock eyes without flinching, without desperately needing to break the tension, he communicates something far more attractive. He says, "I'm grounded. I'm not afraid of you. I'm not afraid of this moment." That kind of stillness creates magnetism. A younger woman is deeply tuned in to energy. She may not always put it into words, but she feels it. She notices the subtle differences between the man who tries to take from her and the man who allows something to grow naturally. She feels when a man is desperate, when his energy is needy, when his intentions are clouded by insecurity. And she also feels when a man is composed, when he has nothing to prove, when he can want her but not depend on her validation. That balance is rare, and that rarity is what makes it so irresistible. So much of intimacy isn't about asking the right question, it's about embodying the right state. If your energy says, I respect you, I desire you, but I don't need to pressure you, then the words you choose won't matter as much, because she'll feel safe. She'll feel the difference between a man who values her choice and a man who's trying to corner her into one. This is where many men get it wrong. They believe intimacy is a transaction. If I say this, then she will do that. But intimacy isn't mechanical. It's emotional. It's relational. It's about co-creating a moment that feels inevitable, like it unfolded naturally instead of being forced. When you stop trying to make it happen and instead focus on allowing it to happen, she starts leaning in. She starts giving you the signals you've been waiting for. Those signals are subtle, but once you train yourself to notice, they become clear. The way she leans slightly closer instead of away, the way her laughter grows softer, more personal, the way she touches her own hair or lips unconsciously while looking at you. These aren't accidents. They're expressions of comfort, attraction, and readiness. A man who notices these signals can respond with grace, moving closer, speaking more softly, or letting his hand rest gently near hers. He's not asking with words, he's asking with presence. And here's where psychology comes in. A younger woman's attraction is not just physical, it's emotional. She's not only drawn to your looks or your age or your status, she's drawn to how you make her feel about herself when she's around you. If she feels younger, freer, more alive, she will naturally want to share more of herself with you. If she feels judged, pressured, or reduced to an object, she'll shut down, even if she was attracted before. The key isn't in what you take from her, it's in what you awaken inside her. This is why confidence without arrogance is so important. Many men misunderstand confidence. They think it's about being loud, dominant, or always in control. But true confidence is quieter. It's the ability to be vulnerable without fear, to express what you want without disguising it, but also without pushing for it. To tell her with calm certainty, I'm drawn to you, and then give her the freedom to respond however she wants. That's not weakness, that's strength. Because it shows you trust yourself enough to handle her answer, whatever it may be. Imagine for a moment that she hesitates, not because she doesn't want you, but because she's unsure of herself. Maybe she's worried about what it means. Maybe she's afraid of moving too fast. Maybe she just needs to feel a little more secure. In that moment, your reaction defines everything. If you retreat in anger or disappointment, you've confirmed her fears. But if you remain calm, if you smile gently and say, it's okay, we don't have to rush, you've built something far more powerful than a single night of intimacy. You've built trust, and trust is the doorway to deeper, more lasting connection. You see, the difference between sounding creepy and sounding desirable is not in the words, it's in the intent behind them. A man who says, I want you, with honesty, respect, and warmth, is magnetic. A man who says the exact same words but with entitlement or impatience is repulsive. The words are identical, the energy is not. And women, especially younger women, are experts at picking up on that energy. That's why the best way to ask for intimacy is to stop asking in the traditional sense. Don't think of it as a question you throw at her. Think of it as a moment you build together, where the energy is so clear, so safe, so mutually charged that the words are almost secondary. A quiet statement, a steady look, a small invitation, and then the space for her to say yes in her own way, in her own time. Because here's the truth most men don't hear often enough. Intimacy is not something you win, it's something you create. And if you learn how to create it through presence, through patience, through respect, You won't need to worry about sounding creepy. You'll never have to wonder what to say. She'll already feel what you mean before you even open your mouth. So as we close, remember this. Intimacy isn't about pressure or perfect lines. It's about presence, respect, and the quiet confidence that makes a woman feel safe and deeply desired at the same time. When you carry yourself with patience and calm assurance, you'll never have to force intimacy. It will flow toward you naturally because she'll want it just as much as you do. And if this message spoke to you, don't just walk away. Join us here at Psychology of Desire. Subscribe to the channel, be part of this journey, and discover even more about attraction, confidence, and the hidden psychology that makes relationships thrive. Because the more you grow with us, the more the right women will notice you and choose you.